You ever found yourself absolutely exhausted after playing a multiplayer game? Or have you noticed after a week's worth of gaming that nights that you play single player games, you're definitely not as tired as a night you would if you were playing a multiplayer game with your friends? The good news is you shouldn't feel weird about it because it's actually a true thing that's happening to a lot of people. If you're new here, what's good? It's just us here. I'm basically just a normal dude who's trying to make a conversation about video games, and I appreciate you stopping by. So today we're going to be talking about how the video game industry is progressively building their games to be more stimulating and in the end more exhausting. I usually post a video on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok trying to get a conversation and see what other people think about this. And on YouTube, here's some of the responses that I had. So overall, I noticed that a lot of people actually agree, while the younger audience actually disagrees. One of these ones here is, as we age, we break our tolerance for long sessions of extreme focus. So basically, it's time to pack it up, punk. So yeah, that's true. But meanwhile, what we'll talk about a little bit later on now is that there is actually a reason that you feel tired from these games. And it's not just you being unk. It's actually a proven development choice. So this is a key one here that I really want to talk about. I feel like many new games have more complex controls and you have to spend more and more time learning it. And as you get older, you have less time to do so. For example, controls would be Half-Life, OG MW2 versus the newest COD or Battlefield. Like a good example of that would be the evolution of how games have changed over the last few years to, one, be more complex, and two, have a bigger learning curve in general. So obviously, if you were an unk like me and you played the original Modern Warfare and the original Modern Warfare 2, you would notice that that was such a very bare bones game. Every gun was overpowered. There was no tactical sprint. There was no sliding. Movement was boring. Weapons were boring. Everything worked. And that was it. But nowadays, we have a lot more complexity to that in Call of Duty. We have meta guns that change on the regular. We have omni movement. We have a different movement mechanic every single year, and the list goes on. But the point is that game development is trying to make something new, and while that's great, that is the whole point of innovation in the first place, it definitely has moved to the point where we are pushing for more and more of something in our games. And that's most likely what causes this said overstimulation. Like I said at the beginning of this video, it is no hint that developers are trying to make games more addicting. And with that comes the idea of overstimulation. If we look at all the different details such as HUD designs, on-screen displays, on-screen notifications, everything is usually a little bit more cluttered, and it's very rare that you find a AAA game, at least, that has a very minimal design to its platform. Another good example of this is the content design in-game. Nowadays, almost every single game that you play is open world in some aspect. Personally, drives me insane. I don't think every game needs to be an open world game, but for some reason, hint hint, they just want you to play the game more. Developers are making this a more and more common thing, especially whenever it comes to modern RPGs. I mean, modern RPGs now have seamless, massive maps. They have tons of side quests packed into them, whether they be valuable or invaluable to your journey. Whenever it comes to collectible stories, all of that together adds a ton of playtime to your playthrough. Whether you're older like me or you're a college student, you only have so much time in the day to play the game and actually get these tasks done, which is where we kind of come into this dilemma of, okay, I only have 2 hours to play this game tonight. What do I want to do while I play it? Let's say you get on and you say, all right, I want to play the main quest of this game. You get on, you pass 3 different characters that give you a side quest, you pass a collectible item, and you find out that there are 3 more collectible items within the area that you need to collect. It gets to that point where it's a rabbit hole, and by the time the 2 hours are up, you're like, wait, I didn't even actually do what I wanted to do. I got distracted by everything else. I mean, that right there is the peak idea of overstimulation, you know? I think it's really important to pinpoint all these aspects because they all build up to this main idea of taking your dopamine and taking your attention. We play games to have fun. There's no hint with that. But games are designed to have fun. But whenever they pack so much stuff into them that releases dopamine, it gets to the point where you're like, okay, I'm playing this game, and it's almost getting to the point where it's not even fun because I'm just being hit with rewards every 2 seconds. I notice this a lot nowadays whenever I play Battlefield 6. I've loved Battlefield 6 so far. I think it's a great game, but playing any battle royale per se, I notice stress, I notice pressure, I notice a great time. I have a great time playing them. But after I'm done playing them, I just feel drained because there is so much of the constant stress, there's so much of the on-screen display nonsense that's popping up, and there's the overall pressure of sound effects just popping off in your ear every 2 seconds. Like I said, it's a great game. I have a fun time playing it, but I can't help but notice how much stuff is packed into it at this point that it literally makes it exhausting whenever I wake up the next day after playing it. One last point I want to bring up before we get out of here is it's not only whenever it comes to single player and multiplayer, it's not only how these games are designed internally, it's also the overall scope of how the corporation designs them to basically make money. Whenever we look at previous titles from maybe like 10 years ago, we used to have 4 DLC packs and then we would move on, whether that be single player or multiplayer. Maybe a single player game would only get one expansion pack where they add on to the game versus a multiplayer game, make it 4 map expansions, etc., etc. We now live in a world where almost every single game that you play has a battle pass integrated into it. Single player and multiplayer games have it at this point. And what I think this does for people who just want to casually enjoy a game, maybe play it a little bit and then move on to the next thing in their life, it makes this constant urge and desire to need to be there to play the next big thing. I personally want to play Borderlands 4, and it's really hard for me to play Borderlands 4 because my friends want to play Battlefield 6. In my head, I'm trying to get them to play Borderlands 4, but at the same time, Battlefield 6 just came out with a new Battle Pass. Okay, so now I gotta play Battlefield 6. Borderlands 4 just came out with a holiday battle pass. Now I gotta go over to the Borderlands to play that. Now it's turning games into this point where I have 2 different jobs. I'm trying to multitask. I'm not even playing for fun. I'm just playing them because I want to unlock the rewards. It's weird, it's frustrating, and it's tiring, but we just got to keep it top of mind whenever we enjoy our games and try to do our best to, be mindful of what we're playing, basically. I know a lot of this probably felt like a very massive ramble, but I think there's a lot in here that a lot of people need to realize and pay attention to whenever it comes to gaming. If you're feeling tired, stressed out, overstimulated, I would say, maybe unplug it for a little bit, kind of refresh your battery, maybe go and play a single player game instead. I always preach single player games because even though they might have these stimulating activities in them, at least they kind of chill you out. You don't have 100 people shouting in your ear. You could just kind of play the game at your own pace. Nothing wrong with that, right? And this is one big long ramble, but I want to hear your thoughts now. I know I've already asked several hundreds of people about it at this point, but I want to hear your personal thoughts on what you think from this video, and if you think what I'm saying even makes sense. This is only my second long form video on YouTube, so this is very off the cuff. This is very natural. This is very much a big ramble, just to kind of basically start a conversation with people on the other end of the camera here. So let me know your thoughts. If you made it this far, like, comment, share, stick around for more. I'll see you around.